However, but Abraham, I hope the woman, the whoever is talking to him, is telling them this. Because part of the problem, we don't just mess up our sons, we also mess up our daughters. We told them, when you marry a man, you don't have to work. In fact, many women, those women I'm talking about, earn a lot, but they don't use their money in the family. Am I right? They have a song they sing. I don't know about it. It is, for your money is our money, but my money is my money. The more we are together, the greater it shall be. Let me repeat the chorus. It's a woman singing. For my money is my money, but your money is your money. That is the philosophy. The parents taught them they can do with their money whatever they want. So you have a woman who is earning more than you, but all the expenses are being borne by you. Am I saying is that possibly true? There is something, that's why I'm hoping so that someone is telling the women. Apologizing on behalf of my generation. We taught you wrong. A woman is an assistant. If you appoint an assistant, you help the principal, whichever way he needs assistance. Am I right? And that includes working, isn't it? Includes finances, isn't it? So that they need to be taught. So when the Lord allows the girl to earn more, it should not cause problems. But now, my wife and I are involved in counseling, and that issue is a big issue. The other day, I was told by a point where they were driving, and as you are talking, the girl just started and said, by the way, you come out of this car. How much money did you give? And he told me they were on the street, they were on the road. Now, I said, I don't normally take the story from one person until you hear from the other. So I finally had met both of them. I wanted her to confirm. You know what she said? But it's true asking, how much did he give? And you see, that kind of a woman needs help, doesn't she? But another one I had told the husband, this house, and of course these are millions worth house, I've been considering refunding my contribution. And then the man told me, actually, it is true. The wife is earning about 5 times his salary. So to be saying this house is ours, how much did you? I intend to refund. Can you see the trouble? We need to sort out, I know I'm talking to men, but somebody needs to talk to their women because they are being unbiblical. A man is not a man because he paid more. He's a man because of why you are created. Just check. Why was marriage created? It's because God saw the man, Adam was alone. The reason for marriage is to deal with a problem called holiness. So not money. Your wife can earn more and as a single girl even become richer than you. But she needs you for companionship. Are we together? You also can run your life without a woman, but you'll be lonely. The reason you have a wife is not what you can get out of her, but someone to share your life with. Are we together? So that needs to be taught. And I want these boys to hear. The reason we marry is not so that we have somebody to give us money. The reason we marry is that we have somebody who is an companion. The counselor has told us, if you don't have somebody to share with, you'll soon be visiting as a cultist. Hope I'm paraphrasing correctly. You need companionship. Are we together? And you need companionship of people who think different from you. So men think a little different from women. So the reason why marriage was created is because what a woman can see, a man may not be able to see. So when you share your challenges with your wife, she is able to show another perspective that you could not see. We need wives. Men, will you agree with me? But we don't need wives because of money. We need wives because of companionship. A good marriage is not mentioned that I bought my wife a car. It's are you available to her? And you need to show to the son that you really are available to the mother. You know, some men are what they call dogs in a manger. heard of a dog in a manger? A dog in a manger means a dog seated where the cow food is kept. They can't eat cow food. But every time the cow comes, they go and frightens the cows away. But it's not eating the food. So the cows are hungry, the dog is hungry, nobody's benefiting. Some men are like that. They come home, they hide themselves with the newspaper. Or they're watching football. They're not available to the wife. They say, I'm going to visit Mama Kamau. Who are you? You are married. Why do you spend all your time with women? She is not allowed to talk to women, and you not talk to her. Isn't she a dog in a manger? Now you understand the concept. So you need to understand as a man, you must teach your son. That there are times to tell him, son, this is a private woman. I'm talking to your mother. He must know that you value the mother so seriously. There are times you have honor with the mother. When I was at Alliance, I left Alliance more than 50 years ago. I did my Form 6, 1973. So the other day when we speak at Alliance, the deputy principal introduced me and said, our speaker today left Alliance before we were all born, including the teachers. When we were in school, most of our teachers were white. But there were people in their 30s, 40s. And because I was a Christian boy, teachers, not one, several, used to teach me on a day they used to go Nairobi Saturday. Those young families had something they call Nairobi Saturday. Nairobi Day, where they would leave from class, take the wife, go out to Nairobi to take the wife out. But the people are very young. So what would happen? They tell me, John, come and do your homework in our house, just so that the child wakes up. And then they leave me with the popcorn, yams, all the things I like and I cannot get at home. Unfortunately for me, not a single night did the baby ever wake up. Although I was given what to give them, they woke up. But none of them woke up. They would go around 6, by around 8, 9 o'clock, they come back and I go back to the dormitory. You know, the interesting thing is, we don't come as Zubus in good areas. We come them in the wrong ones, isn't it? How come you don't have a regular way of taking the mother out and leaving the children complaining? Why are you leaving us? Because you're not my wife. You need to the boys need to understand how important the mother is. Oh, the baby is crying. Let the baby cry. It will not die out of crying. I'm not going to get it. After all, you left the baby to go out. Why can you leave the baby to be? It's called courtship in marriage. We know courtship before marriage, but you don't do courtship in. I've been married in a few months. I've been married for 46 years. I still need to quote Rebecca. If I used to buy her Hamadas in the 70s, I must ask, what does she like now in her 70s? You cannot call yourself a Christian man and you are not quoting your wife all the days of her life. On that day, I was speaking in Yakach. Yakach, that was the national convention for KSL. And I was telling to the men and telling them, I think it will be very, very important for you to understand as a man that God will hold you responsible for the quality of your marriage. And marriage is not about money. Marriage is about companionship. And the language of love is time. When your wife can see you cancel all your friends, just be with her. What do you think it communicates? You value her. Then you go there and you don't go with your phone. You switch off the phone. You don't even sit next to each other. Sit facing each other so you can see you properly. And there's no debate. You are not there for a conference. It's just to give her sweet nuggets. I'm not communicating. You used to do it before you were married, isn't it? Now you just talk business. Which school? No. It is that which will communicate to the boys. Women are valuable. I saw my father value my mother. Are we together? It will be very important that we accurately communicate that. And my prayer is that in God's time, that some of these things you will test them and see how they are now. I've only got a few minutes to my finishing my time. I'll allow the notes to be sent to you. Let's open for discussion. I haven't covered the whole thing, but I realize I will take away the time for. Can we use the rest of the time for discussion? If you don't ask questions, I'll go back to my notes and continue. Is there another mic? Do you have another mic? technical people. As they are getting the mic, let me just read a few things. I encourage you as a man or father that you are a steward. And I was going to read for you Genesis 22:12. I hear God talking. Do not lay a hand on that boy, he said. Do not do anything to him. Now I know that you fear God because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son. Your only son. Abraham was very happy to get a son. Then after some time, God wants to take away the son from him. Abraham had the proper theology. He knew the son was not really his son. He was God's. So if God wants his son back, okay, here. And he was about to cut the boy. Then God says in the verse we are reading, oh, stop. All I wanted to know is that you have not started taking the son as your son. You know, he is my son. And as we talk about fathers and sons, I'm appealing to the fathers to understand their children are not their children. Their children actually are God's children. You are a steward. You have been given a responsibility to look after the child. I keep telling women, the place where babies are born is called a delivery room. Am I right? No, in our time, you'll never be, men were never allowed near there. But here these days, you people are allowed to go there. Now, why is it called a delivery room? I think one reason is to remind the wife that he is not the owner of the baby. He's only a delivery system. The baby came from somewhere, but he was part of the delivery system. Your son belongs to God. And I hope as you go, you start understanding how you treat your son. Your son may never complain, but the owner of your son will handle you. Are we together? That needs to be understood. Sometimes I find you being rough with your son. It's my son. I can do with him whatever I want. You are lying to yourself. You need to understand every child you have is God's child. And one day, God will ask you what you did with him. Is there anybody with a question? Now we have a mic. In the 4 areas I had said I would cover, you can ask any questions that I concentrate on what you feel I should be saying. Anybody? Yeah, there's a hand over there.
Thank you, Elder. Just a general question. You have handled the issue of when the woman is more empowered financially. But what about in the area where we are working the same organization and she is more superior in terms of leadership position than me? And we are working the same now, and we.
You are a teacher, both are teachers, then your wife is made headmistress. Yeah. And you see we are in the same school. Yes. Now I agree, now that's tighter. But the principles remain the same, isn't it? The principles are, number one, don't carry office work home. Do office work in the office, home. You see, in the office she's the boss. At home she's just a mother. And it's again, somebody needs to talk to the women. Not to carry their office to their home. You know, in the office you say, hey, give me that. Why didn't you do that? Then she comes home and says, I told you to come with milk. What's wrong with you? And he's talking to her husband. You see, she's carrying the same tone she had in the office. I keep saying, Pastor, I hope somebody's talking to them. It's wrong. It's wrong. But you need to understand, if she does that, there's a solution. Sit down and say, Madam, The way we talked last night, clearly your tone was of a boss, not a wife. And maybe she did it without knowing. It was the devil tempting her, isn't it? If she's a Christian woman, she will not want to do it, isn't it? So it's important that the two of you discuss. According to Matthew 18, if the solution hasn't come, look for a couple, your best couple. If they are still best, some of them are degrade after that. But get somebody where you can talk about it with another couple, isn't it? If that doesn't help, okay, I hope we don't go to the church, because it means you call the pastor, isn't it? Because basically your wife is being an unchristian. But I told you earlier, the principle remains the same. Most of the problem don't do with the one who's promoted. It's the one not promoted for three problems. Number one is being jealous, which is not Christian. Is it Christian? How do they promote her? What's wrong with them? Is it that they want to marry my wife? Now, all that is coming from you believe you should be better. Now, to deal with that, jealousy is not something good. It's wrong. You need to deal with it. Second one is insecure. What about if she did? She hasn't done it. Don't behave like she has done something she has not yet done. Handle it yourself. So don't allow a problem in your marriage, not because you are even doing anything wrong, but because you are actually insecure. Thirdly and importantly, lay the ground rules in your home. How are you to operate? And those rules should have been there even before she became a boss. Continue with the same rules. That will ensure it doesn't matter who is the boss. But when we are talking like women, some men are exactly the same. They treat their wife like their secretaries. They come, they throw the chair, one shoe that way, that shoe that way. Later they ask, why didn't you pick shoes? Now, and they are talking to their wife. You understand? He is the boss in the office. He is the boss. You are not a boss at home. You are a friend. Are we together? And that needs to be seen. So that's a very important question. But it's true, the principle remains the same when your wife is so-called empowered. But I would like to encourage you to pick that book, The Christian Man, and see a few things I've said about the topic and about the man.
Yeah, thank you, Elder. My concern is what you have shared about the father taking care of the children, and also linking with what George presented about the mental health. You find the children are watching, the sons are watching how the fathers are handling issues of the family. And here is a father whose earnings are not doing very well. Just to build the finances and what they are seeing in the media, in the TV and all that, they enter into some addictions. We talked about addiction. There's one addiction which has come up and no much talking to it, but it is ruining a lot of families and men, both young and old. And this is betting and gambling. Now, you find that this man wants to go in there because he's seen somebody who has won $1 million, $2 million. He thinks that is the way to do. Now, so talking to it maybe a bit, what can be done to avoid that case? Is betting something which is good? Let us in. I mean, because where do we bless it? Because
some of the men seated here just won the other day.
Exactly. They are winning and they also want to go there. But when the contrast happens, you have seen, in fact, I have a colleague where I work who even things went so bad until he hanged himself.
Oh,
so
as you talk, he is dead.
He is dead. He is dead. And those are things very novel, very new. I think we get people going to rehabilitation for drug abuse and all that. How do we rehabilitate these people who are in addiction of betting and gambling and the ruin which is done? The children, our sons, should be able to learn what kind of message we send them so that they don't fall into that. And also the men, how do they get out of that kind of addiction which is very real now? Yeah.
I'll say three things. Now, the other day I was invited by the university that is nearest Uganda. It's called Kebabi University. I wanted me to talk to them about there's the issue of gambling. So I had to read and study quite a lot of it. Young people normally assume but sometimes you have to study before you can tell them. And I found at least 4 things. Number 1, the scriptures say, if you want God's blessing, you must work. He blesses the work of our hands. Is gambling working? No. Even in the least possibility. Can anybody regard gambling as work? No. So the first thing you need to understand is, if you are involved in gambling, you are not expecting God's blessings. Of course, they normally say, I'll tithe 10%. So the pastors are very happy to encourage them to contribute. But it needs to be understood. Gambling is not God's way. Are we together? You cannot call yourself a Christian and continue gambling. Because gambling is, instead of working, bahati nasibu. And there's nothing you are doing. And I know that's not the topic. But you need to understand, when you talk about work, there are 3 requirements in work. Number 1, it must add value to God's people. When I say God's people, I don't mean necessarily Christians, but people created by God. You cannot say you are working if what you are doing is not adding value. So if you're working for privilege, we have a discussion to have. Because from the way Jerome talked, a lot of he called alcohol what? A drug. Yeah. I hope you heard that. Alcohol is a drug. Anyway, so the first thing you need to understand is, if it's going to be called work, it must add value. So somebody is paying you, but he's paying you for something he gained. Don't call it. If you are working somewhere where you are not adding value to anybody, please start planning your experience. Don't do it now. I'm not instructing, I'm advising. And we agree with advise you. We advise you to take your time to consider. Number 2, if it's going to be work a Christian can do, it must bring glory to God. It cannot be called work a Christian can do if out of it God is not honored and glorified. Thirdly, if it's going to be called work, it must give you a return. Some of you call yourself entrepreneurs, but your wife is the one supporting you. You need to understand. I've met a lot of those young men. Many marriages are going to trouble because we are cannot be employed. But what he's doing is sinking the family. I remember counseling a family where the wife said, let me tell you the truth. He uses the family money to pay salaries for his workers. That's it. Is it true? I don't do that in meeting. How can you run a business and you don't even know how much it costs? Am I communicating? But the Bible says, I don't know if you understand it up. All I know, the money disappears out of the family account. It is not work if it's not giving you any return. Because God blesses the work of your hands means it will bring a return. Anyway, that's the first thing you must deal with. Let's be clear, gambling is not something a Christian does. Number 2, it's not just gambling. According to Paul, I'll do anything, but not everything will master me. Am I communicating? So it's anything that can become addictive. It's a no-go zone. And now we have enough studies, like you're saying, to show that casinos are a dead traps. And the casinos have been there for quite a while. It's only that there were a few people, only the rich went to casinos. Then when Kanya Kanya came, ever heard of Kanya Kanya? Things you do on the phone and you get rich. When it came, it's now accessible even to young boys in school. Am I right? That's what has changed. So you need to understand, anything that can be addictive is a no-go zone. It's the same thing I tell young boys. Don't try sex at the age of 15. Sex can be addictive. And if you sleep with one girl, it will be difficult not to sleep with another girl, and soon enough, you will be in HIV, and you'll be a father before you have the money to look after the baby. But it begins with doing anything that's addictive is wrong. And that's what I was telling the Kababi boys. So we need to teach our young people, even if you're addictive, don't touch it. And it will be important for you to understand, and first of all, you're using pocket money. It's not your money. Your father never gave you to gabble. He gave you to do something else. Instead of doing it, you are a liar, a cheat. Don't receive money from your father to do something, then you go gambling. Because although, even if you didn't believe gambling is wrong, what you are doing itself is wrong because you are not doing it as per your father's instruction. You are not obedient to your father, and that is important. Lastly, we need to teach our boys by what we do. And that's not very good. Because he'll hear you say, you know that one I won in church. In other words, gambling done by the church in the name of fundraising. How can it be wrong to do it in Kanya Kanya and not wrong when you do it in Sita? And surely there is a way God can give you money without raising. You know the whole issue about gambling. It is trying to trick the gullible. You are going to win a car. Then, believing you will win a car, you are told to give 20,000 each. But the 20,000, only one man will win. So 20,000 will bring 5 million. The car is 1 million. One person will get the car, and the fundraising will have taken everything. What do you think happens to all the other men who never got the car? They feel cheated. By who? They feel cheated by who? By the church. So we are saying, let's set as a way of dealing with the matter, let the church, let the father, let the mother, however attractive the things are, you as a family must never be set doing gambling. If you don't want your children to end up in gambling. I hope I've covered the topic. There was another hand somewhere.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Kamau Gugi. I want to talk about marriage. I think that we're talking about starts with that time when a man and a woman come together to start a family. And it looks like when God started marriage, it was intentional that it's going to be a lifetime contract. But we see the rate of divorce both in the world and in the church is very high. And I wanted to learn about that. Sometimes back I also listened to the Emeritus Bishop of Linden, and he was saying that when it comes to marriage, young people think about the wedding and not the marriage, because the wedding is just an event, but the marriage now is what starts. Is now life, and then we have a program because there is competition. I want to have the best or the biggest wedding I can have, so that I when I compare with my friends, I did the best. So comment on that, please, especially the rate of divorce, because it's a concern.
I've written a long book. It's called Long Term View of Marriage. I should have called it divorce, but if I write divorce, you will not read. So I called it Long Term View of Marriage, and even the forward is written only by people who have been married for more than 40 years. My friend Bishop Adoyo is one of the writers, and Professor Dairo. And to qualify to be divorced, our marriage is more than 40. Everybody who wrote something was to do 40. I want to communicate. Long-term view of marriage is biblical. Unfortunately, slowly, we are getting to the level where it's quite normal to divorce. And that's what we're talking about, Kamau, isn't it? That normalizing something wrong. I think from what he is saying, he wants us to re-emphasize the fact that you are meant to stay together. Malachi 2:15 says, remember the wife of your youth. That means you are now in old age. You assume I've been seen. Instead of, you don't see me with a dog. You know, I'm in my 70s, I'm walking with a girl in the 20s, half the age of my children. This, unless my wife has gone to heaven earlier, I have no business walking with a dog. So all you are saying, that's my understanding of the word, the wife of your youth. So let me say 3 things. Number 1, you must know the Bible is against divorce. Malachi 2:15, God is saying, I know the modern versions are changing, God hates divorce. So that needs to come your way. And that needs to be taught to these children. That's why you must not put your son to marry. Now that you know that marriage is a car that was manufactured without a reverse gear, don't enter it quickly. Be careful before you enter. So the sons must understand. Don't be in a hurry. Just because you feel emotion for a girl, ask yourself, if I'm seeing the same nose for 50 years, and what is worse, the nose may have changed color. But you need to understand, you are not supposed to wake up to another nose. It has to be the same nose so that she's the wife of your youth. How will you stay with her? So don't meet somebody. I've written a book for young people called Finding a Life Partner, advising them. If you meet a girl, it doesn't matter how beautiful, how nice, give it winter and summer. You see the girl when she has no money, and then see her when she has money. See her when she's with her mother. See her when she's with her sister. See her in every, before you say, may I marry? Are we together? So that needs to be understood. That because God doesn't allow divorce, it's important to take time before you commit to marriage. Point number 2. That we don't stay in marriage because we enjoy marriage. Let me now put it differently. We marry a girl because we love the girl. We stay with her. We love the girl because we married her. May I repeat? Did you get the joke? We marry a girl because we love her. Are we together? After that, we love her because we married her. In other words, earlier, you had a choice whether to marry her or not. Once you are married, because for marriage, you love her. So you don't love her because her body is good. It may be tasting like soil, but you must love her. Because a lot of men say, how can I stay with a woman like that? You don't stay in a marriage because she is treating you well. You stay in a marriage because you committed. So the other day, Dr. Wangai, who was, we were celebrating our 45 years, man, you're there about, can't remember. And he was talking and saying, studies have shown that love feeling does not last 6 months. You marry, by the time 1 year is gone, the reason you are together is not because of feelings. It's because after all I signed. Am I communicating? So that needs to be told. Because a lot of divorces are happening because you are not enjoying marriage. Nobody promised you to enjoy. Say you must commit with the wife of your youth. You know, there's a word now being used. Being called, no, she's toxic. You heard of that word? It was not the idea. They have just come recently. And because psychologists are supporting, hey, toxic, you can end up with a mental illness. So you say, Brother Nanya, how was I going to stay with her? Now, before you forget what the Lord is saying, there are things called coping mechanism. You talked to us. That means mine can be rude. But if I have coping mechanism, it will not go into my heart. I'll sleep like a baby. And yet before he slept, he called me a dog. Now, but once you realize this is a woman I will stay with, then you look at yourself, you are walking on 2 legs. And she has called you a dog. You start understanding her eyes may have a problem. So dogs have 4 legs. I have only that she has called me. She requires more sympathy than contemplation. Don't sleep like a baby. That is coping mechanism. And we need to train our men to have coping mechanism. So that when your wife is rude, your alternative is not to run away. Your alternative is not to beat up. I wanted you to comment on why do men end up becoming violent. You become violent because you don't love your children. Because you'll be violent, you'll report you, you'll be jailed in Kamete, and your children will be without a father because of your violence. And before that, you'll be going to hell. There's no you can be talking of going to heaven when you're a violent man. Are we together? The way of God is a way of peace, isn't it? There are other ways of sorting problems. The Kikuyu say, "Mwikatuoneke hoto." Who knows Kinabu Kikuyu? "Mwikatuoneke hoto." That's Okaga in English. If you negotiate a matter, you have a big issue, you negotiate over it, it's likely to be settled for life. That's a very important thing to hear. So instead of beating up your Bible, why don't you try to negotiate what the matter is? And according to that saying, if you actually convince her to change, you are likely to end up with a good marriage. So that needs to be understood. We must have coping mechanisms to deal with the issues. And my last point is to understand that the reason why counselors exist, pastors exist, sometimes we don't know one of the major jobs of pastors is counseling marriages. It's only that if you're a Qadi, the pastor, in Muslim, pastors are paid, but ours are not paid by the government. But they do the same thing. The Qadi work and the pastors work are the same to help with family issues. Are we together? So don't try to force your wife to agree on something. If you can't agree, look for counseling. Are we together? And when my wife has been holding counseling, you are talking. Then what the husband say, that's not what you have been saying. Then the fathers have been saying. But of course, we are not listening to each other. We don't have to, they agree without us playing in a role. Because they see we are not listening to one another. So please look for somebody and he will help you in order for you to listen to one another. So I hope I have said things, but it's like I've written a whole book, so one can pick the book from Scripture Union, long-term view of marriage. I think our time is up. Or was there somebody standing already? Oh, okay. That's I hadn't seen you. I apologize.
Thank you so much, Elder Nganga, for allowing God to use you to speak to us. Now, my question is in regards to a couple that is in business together, or they're running a business together. You've talked about men courting their wives throughout their whole marriage. But I've had it said by people in the business circle that it is not a good thing, or it does not work very well when a man is working or doing business or running an organization with their wife, because of not being able to differentiate those boundaries. That when they come to the workspace, they need to maintain a professional image, so that maybe if the wife is the one who's coming late or she's doing some things in the workplace that are against the policies, the man has a very difficult time to rebuke her, and that also sets a tone to the other employees who are watching this relationship. They're trying to see how will this man treat this woman when she's the one who's not following the organization policies. What would you comment on that kind of a scenario?
I can want to say three things. Number one, if you own the business with your wife, you are not her boss. What business have you got to pretend her she has come late? It's her business. She can come whenever she wants. And the employees need to know that they are not in the same level with the director. Am I right? Yes. So, but the idea of a husband, the husband who is treating the wife, you came late. How did she come late? It's her own business. So that needs to be dealt with. Don't deal with your wife as an employee. If you have invested together, the directors' meetings are not done in public. You call a directors' board meeting. You don't ever deal with your wife like an employee if you want the business together. That's the first thing. Number two, you can create rules of how to deal with one another in the office as opposed to home. When she breaks the rule or you break the rule, you can agree how to handle it. And you can agree, don't talk to me in public. We can talk about that in our board meeting. Are we together? That means she will never need to reprimand you before people, neither will you do it. Thirdly and importantly, if you can see you're working together is affecting your marriage, Business can be replaced. Am I right? Don't continue with the business. One of you should pull out of the business for the sake of your marriage. Those are three things that one needs to consider. Whoever it is you are talking with that, who is dealing with that matter, talk to him about it. However, I've seen many family businesses work very well. After all, now, as if you're beginning a business, instead of paying big salaries to managers, you and two are the managers. So there are lots of benefits in doing family business. However, I'm in agreement with you. If you are not wise, you will lose both the business and the marriage. Thank you very much.
One last question, just one. On your left.
On my left.
Yeah,
My left.
one.
It's closed. We don't want a planning thing. So let's
but
do it.
Just a point.
Yeah.
You have noted very well that women are more empowered. So two young people graduating the same time, a lady is likely to get a job earlier and rise faster. So our young people today, I do not know from your experience, I would imagine it's the same. Our young people, you find many young ladies, really not young, but ladies who really want to get married. But our men are a bit shy because you already said there are no jobs, and you're already telling them that they must get a job first.
Yeah.
So what we have noted, what I've observed is that when they ultimately now get the job, they want to be more stable. The lady they're marrying is very stable. When they come together, they are really nothing. They are working together. Because each one has already established their part. They are all empowered. So when such marriage happens, it is just by the mercy of God that they are together. But you see, if they started when they were broke and they were living in one small bed, they were tighter together and they grew together when the money was not a lot. Isn't it better to find a way of striking a balance? Because that message of telling men, even now I've seen some of them who are not married here. They are even developing more colder feet again to propose.
Let me say three things again. I like saying things in three things. Number one, even if you start together, many marriages that suffer, and actually if you read my book, The Secret of Contentment, I quote a study that says the survival of the marriage depends on your level of income. The higher the income, the greater is the possibility of divorce. Are you getting that? And you can go and Google it up. So whether you started and built together, as soon as you are rich, that means girls are running all over looking for the man. Even if you are a president of America, you go give in. So the issue is not how you started can contribute. But even if you started poor, once you are rich, we must tell people how to handle wealth. Wealth is a killer of marriages. Wealth kills testimonies. We were taught in geography, the higher you go, the better you become. Unfortunately, it's also too spiritual. When you are poor, you love the Lord. You get rich, your need for the Lord goes lower and lower. So let's start at that level. That the problem is not the way you started. It's that generally once there is money, the wife can do without you, you can do without the wife. You need something else to sort yourself out. Number two, what makes marriages survive is when the two of them are friends and agree modus operandi. How are we going to operate? How will we budget together? Many of the marriages, the reason why they're having that problem is because they start as federations rather than unions. You know what a federation is? Majibo. Although Kibaki told us the Igbo government are not Majibo. Because he said a county cannot run its own business. It must operate under the bigger government. But in a proper federal state, like in America, one state is rich, the other state is poor. And that's how a lot of marriages, some of them since the year are. The wife is rich, the husband is that's a federation. You know, in a federation, you can run different economies, but you must be agreeing on two things: defense and foreign affairs. No state is allowed to have defense or if you tie that wife, the guy will change your address to formula. When they are coming to church, they come hand in hand for an affair. But otherwise, they run two separate economies. Sometimes you are counseling, and the wife says, I lent my husband 100,000 shillings. He has refused to pay. We look at each other, my wife, and they say, surely, is this a marriage? Because you can never let your wife money. It's her money. Your money is her. So who is letting who? A lot of the trouble is, I've written a book called Marriage, Christian Traditional. A lot of saved people don't have saved marriages. They run their marriage exactly like a Maasai marriage or a Kikuyu marriage. They don't obey the Bible. The Bible requires you must have one budget, not two budgets. Anyway, first it means we have to come and talk about marriage. And the women need to be there to listen. But that needs to be understood. What my brother is describing is that problem of two marriages, two families, or rather two people having people. Now, it doesn't matter where you started. If you don't put your money together, once the wealth comes, there will be problems. Thirdly, we need to be aware that we are not in control of our lives. If God wants you to marry early, He doesn't give you a job, isn't it? If He has not given you a job, you can't feed another farm house, can you? So wait. But when the Lord wants you to marry, you marry. So I do not support the idea of marrying late, but I also don't support the idea of becoming your wife's project. She marries to look after you. It will affect your marriage. When you are not meeting, you are outside of the costs, and she can earn more, that's okay. But you're earning nothing, you are a houseboy, and at the same time you are in bed, there will be a problem. So we need to start understanding that we would like young people to marry early and to marry girls and to marry at the right time, but that one has to be left in God's hands. Thank you very much.